So the Beastman player here on the right has assigned two actions to the Beastman, and so one action to actually move into combat, and then the other action for hand-to-hand combat once the figures are in base-to-base contact. Mounted models attacking non-mounted models add a +1 to their die rolls. So in combat, both figures have a C value or a combat value, and the higher this combat value, the better the model is at fighting. What the players do is they add their C value to a roll of the dice, and so it is one die per player and both players roll simultaneously. So in this case, black will be the Beastman and red will be the female figure. So let's say the Beastman has a combat value of 2 and the female warrior has a combat value of 3. She rolls a 3, adds her 3, making it a 6. Beastman adds their 2, making this a 5. And so because she rolled an odd number, the Beastman has to recoil, that is, move one base distance away from the female figure, and of course he has lost the combat. That is called a recoil action. However, let's say that she rolled an even number, a 2, and this was also a 2, so she adds her combat value of 3, makes this a 5. Beastman adds a 2 to this, makes this a 4, but the die rolls were actually even. So what happens is the female figure wins the combat because, of course, when she adds her combat value, it is greater. The roll results in greater than the Beastman. So he actually is knocked prone. And we usually lay the models on their side to represent this. So what happens if our Beastman rolls a 6 and our female warrior rolls a 2? Now our Beastman adds their fight quality, their combat quality of 2 to their roll, making it an 8, and the female warrior adds their combat quality of 3, making it a 5. Now the Beastman has obviously won the fight. However, if you look at the die roll, Beastman has scored a 6, female a 2. That is triple the amount that the female warrior has rolled. So the Beastman has now scored a gruesome kill. So any model within a long-range stick of a model that has been gruesomely killed, such as this female model here and this knight model here, they have to roll a morale check to see if they run away. They have to be in line of sight with the model that has been gruesomely killed in order to make this morale check. So for example, if there is a stone terrain in between the knight model and the model that has been gruesomely killed, line of sight has been blocked, and so the knight does not have to roll a morale check. But in this case, the female model that is within a long length of the gruesomely killed model and within line of sight of that model, they have to roll a morale check to see if they run away, and they usually you move towards the closest board edge. So this figure has just witnessed a gruesome kill from one of its friendly models, and so now must make a morale check. Morale checks are done with 3 dice, and it's a quality check. It's whatever the quality of the model is. Let's say her quality is 3, so she has to roll a 3 or over. Any failure, if she has 1 failure, she moves 1 move towards the closest board edge, right? So she will move here. right underneath the archway. And she's still in the game. However, say she had 2 failures, she would then move another stick, which would carry her out of the board, and she would be out of the game. That's, in essence, how morale works with gruesome kills. Now, if our Beastman doubles the combat results with the die roll, then the opponent player that loses is actually just removed out of the game. So it is out of action. Now, one of the melee actions that an attacker can use is a power blow. And a power blow takes 2 actions, and it reduces the enemy's combat by 1. So if this knight was combat 3, it would now fight as combat 2 for purposes of that combat. Ranged combat. Ranged combat, every description of the model, every profile has the model's range. So this is described through a trait, whether the model has a short bow, a long bow, a crossbow, or whatever the case may be, that will give the range for the model. So in this case, the elf is equipped with a short bow, and so he uses the medium stick for range. So if the target is at 1 stick range, then there are no bonuses or penalties. If the model is farther away, however, let's say at 2 sticks length, then the shooting model has a -2, and if it is at a longer range, like 3 sticks, then the model shooting has a -4. Ranged attacks are resolved in the same way melee attacks are. Every model checks its combat score. So if the elf has combat 3 and the target over there, that little ripper critter, has a target 2, well, the elf adds a 3 to his or her roll, and the ripper adds a 2 to their combat roll, and whoever has the highest number wins the combat. Now in this case, if the target wins the combat, then the arrow has simply missed. But if the shooter wins the target, if the result is odd, then the target model simply moves back 1 base length, and that is called a recoil action. If the shooter wins the combat with an even roll, then the target falls prone. And that is the same as the melee combat rules. Now this is an interesting setup. What if the shooter in this case, the elf, fires his short bow and strikes the knight here and causes a recoil action? Well, the knight has to go backwards 1 base length. And this brings us to another point. If the model cannot recoil because he's on the edge of a ledge here, the model simply falls and takes falling damage. Or in this case, would be out of the game because it's the table edge. So that's another interesting situation with either ranged models or melee models. Ranged models in base-to-base contact with a friendly model, as this elf with the female warrior, can shoot over the shoulder of the female warrior and into the beastman. Ranged models cannot shoot into melee combat. If a friendly model is not in base-to-base combat with the shooter cannot fire at an opponent model, in this case, the beastman. If a shooter is attacking a big model, such as that big orc in the background, it gains a +1 bonus. And this ends our talk on combat. Part 3 is talking about magic.